A while ago, I covered the original Armored Core for the PS1, an excellent third-person mech sim that held up surprisingly well for its age. After the original's release, the Armored Core series would begin a proud tradition of making expansion packs between the proper installments. Basically, From Software wanted to squeeze as much blood from their titles without actually changing them. This led to some great and mediocre installments. Luckily, Project Phantasma is more in the former than the latter. If you enjoyed the original game, you're going to find a lot to like here, with the same blemishes and problems. Project Phantasma has you play as another Raven who's been contracted by an anonymous client to investigate a secretive group named the Doomsday Organization, and their involvement in Project Phantasma. Basically, they're Majestic 12. They want to splice human mech pilots with machinery for some cool results. As it turns out, your client, named Sumika, was going to be one of their test subjects. So, not good. The both of you decide to put an end to Phantasma before it wrecks everyone's collective shit. This forces you to fight against an assortment of enemies, the most dangerous being a powerful AC pilot, Stinger, who works as the game's main antagonist. The story has never been a focus in the Armored Core games, especially here. A lot of the subjects are left very vague and unanswered, like what is the Doomsday Organization, why is Sumika involved, and why does everyone speak in near broken English? The game plays out just like it does in the original. You still accept contracts for money, and damages and expenses that are incurred in the level are deducted from your pay, but you don't have any real branching paths to choose from, or alliances you can form with different factions like you could with the corporations. It would have been pretty cool if you could actually side with the Doomsday Organization, but no such thing. You can occasionally choose different missions, but it's a mostly linear game, which is okay since the missions are good fun. I found the length and difficulty of the stages pretty well balanced. Most of the levels didn't feel overly long and unfairly difficult. Props given to the last mission for it being a singular boss fight instead of a painfully long endurance run like in the prior game. The missions themselves are pretty fun. There's a lot more action on display. Easily the best contracts are the ones that have more destructible elements like buildings and cars. The enemies are pretty fun and varied, though some inflict damage like a freight train, which doesn't mix well with the still very clunky and weighty controls. Occasionally you fight Stinger. He's a tough fighter, and his battles are a welcome reprieve from the standard objectives, though he does become a bit overused towards the end. Building your own custom mech is still the best thing ever, and it's a bit easier here with the additional items and earlier access to the more interesting equipment. Phantasma's missions rarely force you to change up your equipment between missions, allowing you to go from stage to stage with little fuss. The arena is a new game mode that was added to supplement the shorter story mode. It's here you battle against other Ravens for cash prizes and unique equipment pieces, all the while climbing the ranks to number 1. Early on it's pretty easy, but it's not long before you're struggling through each firefight. Is it hard? Very much so, but it definitely adds a lot of replay value to the game, though it depends on how much you can stomach being thrashed over and over again. The graphics are still quite outdated, but you get a nice selection of open, varied environments that keep the simple missions interesting. Armored Core Project Phantasma is a solid expansion to an excellent PS1 game with a decent amount of content and polish. It's a game that both fans of action and mech games can really enjoy.